And if you look over the past 3 years from 2019 to 2021, there has been essentially a massive increase in those imports that are coming from Durban's port, and the balance is coming from Cape Town as well as Port Elizabeth, in which in 2015 the International Trade Administration Commission imposed an anti-dumping penalty on Lucky Cement from Pakistan, in which then after the expiry of that penalty, Pakistan re-emerged and significant volumes have came from them. And just touching on the year-end results, South Africa and Botswana achieved a 5.2% increase in the revenue. They have achieved this by having a biannual increase of 9.7% when compared to the comparative period. It was 8%, which is about a 1.7% increase. Then in PPC, Zimbabwe achieved a 90.9% increase. These numbers are coming from a low base, as in the comparative period, there was a maintenance shutdown. In the material business, it was down 6%, in which the fly ash business was the only one that done quite well. The ready mix and the aggregates, there was quite a low demand. And what do we expect from a revenue and EBITDA perspective? We see a strong recovery coming about from 14 to 18%. Also, most recently, PPC has made several new executive key changes. So these factors definitely fit into the long-term goals within the business. And on the return side of things, if you look at PPC's track record over the 10-year period, the stock is not performing quite the greatest and is quite volatile. And I do think once the government imposes import duties, these numbers should go up quite significantly. In conclusion, the demand in South Africa and Botswana remains quite weak. In the construction sector, there is quite this sector remains quite depressed. In the retail sector, there is low demand as well as aggressive price competition. In Zimbabwe, there's strong demand in both residential as well as government construction. PPC has a strong balance sheet due to the sale of the Rwanda business, as well as they achieved a strong free cash flow of 260 million. We do have a hold and intrinsic value of 4 rand. In terms of outlook, PPC will identify cost-saving drivers throughout the business, as well as rely on business intelligence to make better quality decisions. And hopefully in the near future, we can rely on government support to impose import duties to allow an even playing field. Now I'll hand over to Sean to discuss technical analysis.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Yeah, you can see the chart there again of PPC. This is obviously onto yesterday's closing price. So as it shows you, the share price is trading above its 20, its 50-day as 200-day moving averages. So both the long-term and the medium-term trends remain bullish. Saying that, in the short term, the share price is again testing that strong resistance level, which you can see there, it has tested already 7 times previously. So, and that resistance level is the same level where Manib just said now is our intrinsic value, and I see the market, the PPC is trading at 398, so it's very close to that level right now. So yeah, we still got our whole recommendation at those price levels where we're trading now. But you can also see at the bottom there, the MACD indicator, it's trading in overbought territory above that 0 line, but it's still above its, I call it the trigger line. So there's no clear bearish signals yet. Saying that, I would expect the share price to pull back soon on some profit taking and maybe retest that lower support trend line, which is around about the 320 level. I think that'll about be a better level to enter the trade. Yeah, that's our CPPC.
Great, thanks, Sean. And then won't you do us the S&P, Nvidia, and the Aussie as we spoke about last week, and then we can
Okay,
upload some questions.
cool. So yeah, you can also see again the chart there of this is the JC All Share. So it's a barometer of all of the shares on the market. So it's a weekly chart. So I just wanted to show you, give you a bigger perspective of where the market is right now. So the weekly chart goes back 5 years on this one. So it shows you the performance starting from the collapse. I call it the collapse during COVID, way back then, March, April in 2020. So the index price is trading far above its 20 and 50-day and 200-day moving averages. So the medium and the long-term trend also they remain bullish at this point in time. Um, you can also see there slightly that the medium-term trend is, call it neutral or trendless, as the index has been moving sideways in a trading range. And also recently, the index price has been testing that upper resistance around about the 81,400 points level. And you can also see there I've highlighted the two circles has created what we call a possible double top chart pattern, which is usually a precursor to profit taking or selling, what we call a reversal pattern. And you can also see at the bottom there, the MACD indicator is trading in overbought territory and above its a trigger line again with no clear bearish signals yet. So yeah, the way I see it, it is very toppish, and I can expect a pullback, maybe back to that the 200-week, sorry, the 20-week moving average, as well as that long-term support trend line, very similar to what we saw now in PPC. Okay, next one. Yeah, and then we're just going offshore. This is the S&P 500. Obviously the top 500 companies in the States. And also, yeah, well, this is a daily chart, so it's a bit more squashed up. But I wanted to show you the performance starting from November low of last year. So the index price is trading far above its 200 moving average, and yeah, the long-term trend also is still bullish. Um, in the medium term, I'm seeing that it's been a bit neutral to trendless. Again, as it's been moving sideways for about 3 months. In the short term, the index has rallied sharply to retest that resistance trend line coming from the top there, while still trading above that very short support trend line. So it could be possibly creating what we call a triangle chart pattern, which is considered a continuation pattern. It should continue on the way up. So we could call it expect a breakout above that, around about the 4,468 point level, and possibly take us to that all-time high, way above that at 5,674 points level. So that's what could possibly happen. Yeah, what adds to that bullish sentiment would be that the MACD indicator is trading below that zero line, trading in oversold territory, and looks like it's about to, or it has crossed the above its trigger line to give a bullish signal. So it's, yeah, a bit more positive, a bit more upside potential on the stock. So it's important to see if we break out above that resistance trend line. Okay, next. And then lastly, yeah, Nvidia. Okay, so Nvidia, was a very similar chart in the sense that also bullish, trading above its 200-day moving average. It has recently crossed above its 20-day moving average, but it's still trading below its 50-day moving average. So in the medium term, I'm still calling this trend bearish until such time that the 20-day, that red line, crosses above the 50-day moving average, and they both point up. And we can say in the medium term that the trend is also bullish. In the short term, I know the chart looks a bit complicated, but in the short term, the share price has rallied sharply. And I've inserted what we call a Fibonacci retracement level from those levels there way back in November of last year. You can see for a long time the market was moving sideways in a very narrow trading range, and then broke out of that trading range. So I've taken it from that low there to the high. And then what they do with the Fibonacci retracement, you can see the three levels highlighted there. But I wanted to show you specifically that how the price bounced off that 50% retracement level, which was around about that $91 level. And obviously also close to the previous resistance level. So it was a ideal turning point. Saying that, in the short term, the MACD indicator is also in oversold territory, like as I said now with the S&P 500. It's crossed above its trigger lines, at least bullish. So we could expect the share price of Nvidia to possibly retest that resistance trend line around about the $124 soon. And you can see the all-time high there, way up top there at 141. So yeah, that's the technicals, how I see them. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Sean. So bottom line, the Aussie a little bit more bearish, probably going to retrace, S&P bullish, and Nvidia bullish. I imagine that's in line with one another because Mag 7 is driving them all. So short-term bullish, huh? Okay, so we'll see if the data has any impact on that. Is there any questions for Sean and Manib on this? So Sean, just for us Luddites who don't really know the technicals, if we look at this Nvidia one that bounced off the sort of the 96, would you have called that beforehand? That was a nice resistance line that's coming from those previous peaks. If it blew through that 96, I imagine it would have been pretty catastrophic.
Yeah.
Okay. And the same thing, if it bounces off that 124, then I imagine you start going down in that trend line towards somewhere between the 124 and the 96. Is that what we would conclude?
Yeah, okay. So that ideally a trend line should be touched at least 3 times to make it a significant trend line. So you can see on that trend line's only touched twice. So it's what we call a possible turning point. So either it's going to bounce off there or break out.
Okay. So if it bounced off and came down, that would make it quite a strong trend heading towards the 96, and I'm talking broadly. If it breaks through it, then you become way more confident about going through the 141.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Let me just look at the chats. It's education for all of us. Let me just have a look here. What company is going to be presented next Thursday? It's going to be Redefine off the top of my head. So a nice property stock. As we've seen, properties have done relatively well, not as well as the bond yields. So we are fundamentally quite positive about the property stocks, primarily because bond yields off about 140 basis points. Property have got a very high correlation with those bonds, and the properties have followed them a little bit, but not by a lot. Second thing from Richard, does the RSI indicator reveal anything of note in the JSE and S&P? Sure.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just going to bring it up.
Yeah, no worries. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's looking at the RSI. Yeah, it's also it's toppish. It's not close to overbought territory yet, but it is toppish. The reason why I use MACD because it works in both markets. It works in a trending market, either a market trending up or trending down market. So it highlights at overbought and oversold levels. It also works well in a sideways market. The shorter term RSI and stochastic indicators are better for sideways markets. So yeah, bit of a slightly different way of analyzing the market. But I'm looking just at the JSE All Share now. We're trading at about 75, so we're close to at the level of 80. We'll be overbought as such. But yeah, that answers your question, Richard. It's close to overbought territory. It's very similar.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Sean. Thanks, Manib. If there's any other questions, so I think the key takeaway is, but bullish offshore and offshore tech on the technicals. Our fundamental view is a little bit more careful around those. And Manib has given us a very nice update on PPC, and we'll see how that runs. Great. If there's no other questions, I think I'll draw to a conclusion and thank you, everyone. And thanks for the question about next week. It's Redefined for next week. So same time, same place. See you all there. Cheerio, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.